Right, well, welcome. This is the 21st of January and it's a Thursday, and I'm going to endeavour to try and play catch up. I've got behind on the Premier League videos, it has to be said, and there's so much football on a daily basis here, but it comes in dribs and drabs because of COVID. So I'm going to try and get up to date from Sunday's games. 3 on Sunday, 1 Monday. There were a couple on Tuesday, and there were 2 last night. So if you do the arithmetic there, it's about 8. There is another fixture tonight involving the champions, Liverpool, but that'll be tacked on possibly in the description. So let's get started with the first game on Sunday then. Last Sunday it was at Bramall Lane, Sheffield United home to Spurs. I didn't catch the team news other than I noticed Bale was on the bench. Typical start by Spurs. After 3 minutes they broke up Sheffield's forward run. They quickly linked the play to Bergwijn and his shot was tipped over by Ramsdale. That was then from the following corner by Son. Aurier, the right back, was far too quick for the defence, and he headed home to put Spurs 1 up. Now on 7 minutes they could have gone 2 up, courtesy of one of those typical over-the-top passes from Kane breaking out of defence, finding his pal Son. Now Son seemed to do everything right, as he chipped the goalkeeper, but unfortunately it hit the upright, and so a lucky let-off. It should have been 2-0 really. After that Sheffield came into it more. Burke looked quite a threat up front, and they still had to be very wary of this break counter-attack, and although they had some sort of fair bit of possession, McGoldrick looking quite strong, and as I previously mentioned, Ollie Burke. It was up the other own moment on 37 minutes. Ramsdale had to clear a dangerous moment in the 6-yard box, but it didn't matter for much because a couple of minutes later, again possession squandered. Certainly the ball was linked to the players up front, and Harry Kane this time, and he got to the edge of the box with the ball and he hit one of his typical Kane in the corner goals, and that was 2-0, and that was half time. The second half, Wilder once again must have given them a little bit of a kick up the backside, because they responded well. 58 minutes, McGoldrick headed in a lovely cross from Fleck on a free kick. And all of a sudden we were getting that feeling about Spurs of squandering leads. They've done a lot of that this season, but this time, 61 minutes, we had one of the most audacious goals that I've seen scored all season. The ball was again linked up very quickly in attack, and the final ball to the left side of the penalty area for Ndombele, but he was sort of running away from the penalty box, and he audaciously clipped the ball with his right foot in the opposite direction back across goal, off the side of his foot, and it looped over Ramsdale and hit Ramsdale's left top corner. It was a thing of beauty. Questions whether he meant it or not, but having said all that, it was 3-1 to Spurs, and that really took the wind out of the sails of the Sheffield United players, and Spurs comfortably arrived at the full-time whistle, and they thoroughly deserved it, to be honest. They were far too good for the Blades. Final score then at Bramall Lane: Sheffield United 1, Tottenham Hotspur 3. Okay, the second match was the match of the round, of course, at Anfield. Liverpool at home to Manchester United. I watched all of this. Recently, the top teams playing against each other have been pretty boring affairs. The recent Manchester derby was a goalless draw, and then Liverpool against Manchester City earlier in the season, once again, but a goalless draw and very little action to report. I have to say that this game was marginally better than those. Of course, Liverpool highly depleted with a makeshift defence of Urbino and Henderson, and that really does have a big impact because these players usually are in midfield. Shaqiri got the nod in midfield alongside, just behind the top three, with Wijnaldum and Thiago. For the United, they look very much at full strength with Pogba in the team, Greenwood on the bench, and Cavani. The first half, Liverpool had the edge, but they couldn't put together really any real gilt-edged chances. Firmino was guilty of missing to test the keeper really on a couple of occasions. Salah's efforts were pretty weak and easily handled by De Gea. And all in all, Liverpool seemed to lack that spark in midfield. United, well, they were very quiet up front. Fernandes really hadn't got going. And I can't really recall too many attacks of penetration towards Alisson in goal. So that was the first half. The second half, United certainly got much better, and they started to put together a few chances. And they had the best opportunity, and I'm going to my notes now, from Paul Pogba late on, and he tested the keeper to be sure, but Alisson was good enough. And that's basically all the real positive news from this fixture. It generally was quite disappointing, and so we reached the final whistle, and I suspected that Solskjaer would have sensed that they missed an opportunity against a weakened Liverpool side. But I suppose a point at Anfield is always welcome. So final score at Anfield: Liverpool 0, Manchester United 0. So the final match on that Sunday then was at the Etihad, Manchester City at home to Crystal Palace. Cahill was back for Palace at the back. No Saha though, he would be a miss. And Ayew was up front for Palace. For Manchester City, no Aguero. I think there's a serious issue about Aguero at the moment because he was not even on the bench. Yeah, Jesus was back, but first 20 minutes really, it was very typical of Manchester City home games. They were dominating possession, and then on 26 minutes, De Bruyne with an exquisite banana-style cross from the right, and John Stones up from the back headed in for 1-0. That was the score at the break. Second half, still virtually all City, very little from Palace. 55 minutes, Gaeta managed to block an effort when it came out to Gundogan, and his shot, his strike, went in the corner for 2-0. 2 became 3 on 67 minutes. John Stones again getting his second of the night after a great block from Gaeta, but the defence really not helping him at all. 3-0, and then a goal from Raheem Sterling on 87, a free kick just outside the box, and a great curled effort by Sterling. And so that was it. Manchester City are looking ominously powerful, and have now got to second position in the table. They still have a game in hand on their Manchester rivals, and they're really looking almost back to their very best. So, final score at the Etihad then: Manchester City 4, Crystal Palace 0. Monday night's fixture then at the Emirates, Arsenal at home to Newcastle. Arsenal buoyant after a good run recently, 3 wins and a draw. Newcastle have been stuttering and are sliding down the table. I didn't see a lot of highlights of this game, but Newcastle managed to contain the Gunners in the first half. They did have one decent chance for Almiron, but it went away. And that was the extent of the action, really. The Gunners hadn't much punch in the attack in the first half. And Aubameyang, of course, has been off target for a number of games. But I don't know what Arteta said at the break, but they came out all guns firing. There's a good pun. And goals on 50, 60 and 77 for the Gunners emphatically put down the gauntlet that they are on the way back. 2 of those goals were scored by Aubameyang, get it right, trying to get that 3-barreled name together. And he looked sharp, it has to be said. The goal on 60 minutes was converted by Saka, who's looking a potential selection, I think, for the Euros for England. But anyway, that was about it. A comfortable win for Arteta. So they're climbing up that table now. Full-time score Emirates, Arsenal 3, Newcastle 0. So to Tuesday night's action in the Premier League. We'll start at the London Stadium. West Ham against West Brom. Not too much information for me from team news at the moment. As I say, these games are coming thick and fast, and I haven't really the time to go through that information too accurately. But let's get to the action. 7 minutes, Creswell involved, and he had a particularly good game at left back for West Ham. And the breakthrough didn't come, though, until the 46th minute. And this followed some good work by Ben Rama on the left, and he created a yard to cross the ball to the right-hand side of the penalty box. Sofel came in. He hit the ball on the volley with a lot of pace, and it went straight to Bowen, who got his chest to it, and next minute it was in the back of the net. So 1-0 to West Ham. After the break, West Brom got a deserved equaliser on 50 minutes. Pereira on target from distance, from the edge of the box. A sweet strike that was too good for Fabianski. So that was 1-1. But 65 minutes, West Ham restored their lead, and it was Antonio getting onto a Yarmolenko header in the box. He was a bit too swift. That followed once again a good delivery from Creswell to the far post. Yarmolenko heading it on, and Antonio ahead of the defender hits it home for 2-1. That was about it, really. West Ham didn't play that well. West Brom, some encouragement for Allardyce, but it's another defeat. Final score then, Moyes' West Ham 2, West Bromwich Albion 1. So to the second game on Tuesday night then at the King Power Stadium. Leicester at home to Chelsea. Leicester had the opportunity of going top with a win. Chelsea's form has been pretty woeful, really, by their standards. They've been very up and down all season. And really, Lampard hasn't been able to solve the problem. Goals have dried up and the defence has looked shaky. Leicester were at full strength. Chelsea, James was back at right back. Chilwell playing against his old club at left back. Kante was injured, so he wasn't available. and Odoi, Abraham and Pulisic were up front for the Blues. Sorry, Chelsea. They're both blue, aren't they? That left Werner, Ziyech and Havertz on the bench. Didn't do them much good. 5 minutes. Maddison, who's getting back to his best form, supplied a great ball out to the right to Brighton, and he spotted Ndidi on the edge of the box, and his cross was inch perfect, and Ndidi hit it first time, and it went in off the post, and that was 1-0 for the Foxes. 15 minutes, Maddison had a drive which hit the bar, and slack defending all in all was allowing Leicester to dominate. Took 30 minutes before we saw anything of Chelsea up front, but Odoi had a half chance, but he hit the side netting. Vardy, one effort for him, but it was quite a poor effort, easily for MDay. Then a bit of controversy on 37 minutes. Evans appeared to clip Pulisic. It was right on the edge of the box. The initial decision was penalty, but VAR had a good look at this one, decided it was just outside, and in the ensuing free kick from Mount, his effort went wildly over. 3 minutes later, and Chelsea were 2 down. This time, Maddison met a loose ball on the edge of the box, and this was followed some poor defending by James, and the ball looped out, and Maddison hit it sweetly wide of MDay, and it was 2-0. 49 minutes, Justin very close, heads wide in the 6-yard box. The second half, well, it has to be said that Chelsea looked better, but they really didn't get any real clear-cut chances. Werner came on 85, and he an effort which appeared to count, but he was offside, clearly offside. Schmeichel really wasn't that busy, to be perfectly frank, and by the time we got to full time, Chelsea looked a pretty bedraggled outfit, but Leicester weren't complaining. They comprehensively really won this game by beating Chelsea 2-0, and they now go top of the Premier League. So to last night's action. 2 games for you. 1 game was postponed. That was the match between Leeds and Southampton because of COVID issues. I'm going to start with the match at Craven Cottage. Fulham at home to Manchester United. Slow start from Solskjaer's men, and they paid the price. 5 minutes, Lookman ran into space. The defence, Wan-Bissaka didn't come out quick enough, so Lookman was onside. He collected the ball and hit a lovely shot wide of De Gea's right hand into the corner, and that was 1-0 for Fulham. But things were starting to look ominous for them as they tried to defend this lead, and on 20 minutes, a great shot from Fernandes hit the post, and a minute later, a cross again from Fernandes caught the keeper out, who basically didn't handle the cross, and that Cavani was there, as good strikers are, to poach in the goal, and that was level then, 1-1. After that, another spectacular save from Aurelio denied Fernandes on 22, and Maguire, who was seemingly getting in on goal with his head whenever there was a cross into the box from a set piece, amazingly headed the ball wide on 28 minutes when he really should have tested the keeper. Into the second half, and an early effort by Reed was put over, was well over in fact, on 48 minutes. United were certainly looking the better, although Lookman did test De Gea on 51. A Martial header on 63 minutes went over the top. He should have done better with that. And then on 64 minutes, a piece of absolute individual brilliance by Paul Pogba. He picked the ball up midway into Fulham's half on the right. He moved inside. There didn't seem to be much on at all, really. He hit his shot on his left foot, and it absolutely whistled across the keeper into his right-hand corner. It was a tremendous goal, and it proved to be a winning goal. Late on, there was an opportunity for the equaliser for Mitrovic, but Bailly had come on, managed to get a foot to it, and it went wide. But basically, a tough fixture really for the Reds, but they managed to grind out a victory against a much improved Fulham. And the final score at Craven Cottage was Fulham 1, Manchester United 2. And Manchester United go back to the top. And apologies for that ridiculous clock that I've got, stopwatch, for buzzing for 1 minute, as it does every day. And I'll make a note of the time. It's 10 o'clock. So I'll make sure I try not to do videos that go through the 10 o'clock barrier. So final score, once again, Fulham 1, Manchester United 2. Right, last updated game then was at Etihad again. Manchester City, this time they were at home at Aston Villa. Villa hadn't played for a while because of their first team hadn't played for a while. They did play in the Cup, but they had a reserve team out. They've suffered really badly from COVID tests. But here they were at the Etihad, and it has to be said, what a difficult task they had in front of them. But you wouldn't have thought so. Although it was typical City in possession, the defensive efforts by Aston Villa were absolutely impressive. Most of them blocks, but also the keeper, Martinez, was making a contribution. And it really was quite impressive. Barkley was back in the Villa side, and they looked a threat themselves with him, Grealish and Watkins. They are a potent sort of trio. But anyway, we didn't really get any clear-cut chances at goal in the first half. Lots of blocks and lots of good defending. One effort from Barkley on 44, which went wide. So we got to the second half, and the story continued, although Villa were starting to test the City defence somewhat, and they looked competitive, and City were not having it all its own way. But again, the clear-cut gilt-edged chances weren't around. And then finally, on 78 minutes, City got the breakthrough, and it was a tremendous goal by Bernardo Silva in the top corner, following a slight error by Mings in the defence. So finally, the dam had burst, and City were 1 up. 88 minutes, they managed to get a second. This time it was Gundogan, and he got the second, and that made it a comfortable win on paper, but it was far from it. Smith was very angry about what he considered to be an offside before the first goal was scored. I didn't really see that on highlights. But the harsh reality was that Aston Villa have lost, and Manchester City, 6 wins on the bounce now. They're on the heels of Manchester United, 2 points back, but with a game in hand. Leicester back to third again, and Liverpool now down in lowly fourth. They've got a fixture tonight, I think, against Burnley. So that's my lot. That's the roundup of the Premier League over the last 3 or 4 days. I'll get this video out to you.